back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into the world of computers. We'll be learning how to assemble and disassemble a computer step by step. Whether you're building your dream PC or upgrading your current setup, this guide is for you. Let's get started. Alright, before we begin, let's talk about the key components you'll need for assembling your computer. Motherboard, processor, CPU, RAM, graphics card, GPU, power supply unit, PSU, storage, SSD or HDD, case and cooling system, fans or liquid cooling. Now let's get our hands dirty and start with the first step. Step 1. Installing the CPU. First, grab the motherboard and locate the CPU socket. Be careful with the pins on both the motherboard and CPU, as they're delicate. Once it's in place, simply lower the latch and you're good to go. Step 2. Installing the RAM. Your motherboard will have specific slots for RAM. Line up the notches on the RAM stick with the slots on the motherboard. Firmly press down until you hear a click, and that's it. Step 3. Installing the CPU cooler. This part is super important for preventing your CPU from overheating. Apply a small amount of thermal paste to the top of the CPU, then install your cooler. Make sure it's secure, but don't over-tighten. Step 4. Installing the PSU. Your power supply needs to be installed in the bottom or top section of your case, depending on the case design. Secure it with screws and connect the cables to the motherboard and other components. Step 5. Installing the graphics card. First, remove the necessary expansion slot covers from the case. Align the PCIe connector of the GPU with the slot on the motherboard and gently push it in. You should hear a click. Make sure to connect the power cables from the PSU to the GPU if needed. Step 6. Installing storage. For an SSD, you can mount it directly onto the motherboard or into a drive bay using screws. For HDDs, make sure to place it into the hard drive tray and secure it with screws. Step 7. Cable management. Now it's time to tidy things up. Connect all necessary cables, power cables, SATA cables and front panel connectors like USB and power buttons. Step 8. Closing up the case. Once everything's connected, close up the case, plug it in and power it on. Congrats, you've just assembled your own computer. Now that we've assembled the PC, let's quickly go over the disassembly process. Whether you're upgrading components or troubleshooting, knowing how to disassemble is just as important. Before we start, make sure to unplug everything and ground yourself to avoid static damage to the components. Step 2. Remove the side panel and start disconnecting cables like the PSU cables, SATA and power cables. Step 3. Remove the graphics card, unscrew it from the case and gently remove it from the PCIe slot. Step 4. Remove the RAM sticks. Then carefully remove the CPU cooler. Make sure to undo the latch and gently twist the cooler off. Step 5. Finally, if you need to replace or upgrade the CPU, gently lift it out of the socket. And there you have it. You've now learned how to assemble and disassemble a computer. It may seem like a lot at first, but with practice it becomes second nature. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more tech tutorials.